Good morning. Sorry I'm a little late this morning. It's been a very long week. How are you? So, as ever, let's start from breathing. And I'm going to invite you to make your exhale, your breathing out longer than your breathing in. If it helps you, you can count, for example, breathing in 1, 2, breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whatever you have lung capacity for, it's really important to maybe extend your lung capacity a little bit, but not really push it past its point. And I'm going to also invite you to make a sound on that exhale, on that breathing out. Doesn't have to be a pretty sound. It can be a sigh, it can be a blah, it can be whatever sound you want it to be. Like I said, at least for me, it has been a very long week, which is why I was a little late this morning. Sorry. So let's breathe together. We'll breathe together 3 times, making that exhale longer than the inhale and making some sound. Let's do it again. And one more. Good morning. Already I feel a little bit slower, a little bit calmer, just breathing with you all. And that making that breathing out longer just helps our parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest, just kick into place. That is all. And now, as we do every morning, we're going to turn our attention inwards. You can close your eyes or lower your gaze or just keep your gaze wherever it's at right now. And all we're doing is paying attention to what's going on with ourselves this morning. So we're checking in just with the general, how we're feeling. Is there pain in our body or comfort? And often there's both. So maybe noticing which parts don't feel great and which parts feel comfortable or neutral. Noticing if our muscles are tight or relaxed. Noticing our breathing. Is it deep? Is it shallow? Not trying to change it. We're really just having an inquiry with as much curiosity and as much non-judgment as we can handle in this moment. How's our heart? Is it beating really fast, slow, everything in between of that? And also, how's our heart emotionally? How are we feeling this morning? I notice I'm feeling a little tender, for example. How are you? And then noticing our thoughts. What are the thoughts they're kind of churning in our head? Because when we're checking in somatically with ourselves, we are our body, so our emotions, our thoughts are also part of that check-in. Maybe even this morning checking in with what is it that our bodies really want to do? What is it that you really, if you could do anything, that you really want to do in this moment? Not that you have to do anything about it, just noticing. For example, I'm noticing that I would rather go for a hike outside, but that's not happening. I have 3 hours of board meeting online this morning. So just sometimes noticing what we want and what's actually real that we have to do. Sometimes it's enough to notice that, even if we can't do anything about it. So as we notice where we're at, where our thoughts are at, our emotions, our body, let's also notice gravity that supports us and notice what is underneath us. It might just be the ground. If you're standing, sitting, or lying down on the ground, it might be a chair, the couch, the bed. And noticing if you can relax into that support, even 1% more. Just really feeling that point of contact between you and the support underneath you and kind of breathing into that. Yesterday I was talking out, we really used a lot of breath and focus in a lot of somatic work. At least in the kind of somatic work I do, I should say. And again, we're using curiosity and as much non-judgment as we can handle, and just noticing where we're at. And noticing that support underneath us, noticing gravity. And as you notice what's going on, I'm going to invite you to maybe identify a sensation or an emotion or a thought that feels a little bit overwhelming. I don't want you to identify your most overwhelming thought or sensation, something that feels like a lot. At the moment, I've got like a pulsing in my shoulder blades, for example, so I'm going to focus on that. But it could just be maybe a worry, or it could also be the just wanting to run anywhere, somewhere, run away, fly away. It can be anything. It can be an instinct, it can be a sensation, it can be an emotion, but something that feels a little much, and but not too much. So we want to hit the sweet spot. And once we've identified that, what we're trying to do is, with our breath and attention, we want to make the container bigger. So sometimes we want to hold everything by ourselves in our body, and it's a little much. It can make us feel like we're vibrating with it. So we want to imagine that through breath, through intention, we can make that container bigger. We can expand what holds that sensation, that emotion, that thought. So maybe we want to make the container as big as the place we're in. And really imagining, and if it helps you, even using your arms to like push out and imagine that the container is getting bigger. Maybe you want to make that container as big as the neighborhood you're in. Maybe you want to make that container as big as the city or the state or even a galaxy. You can go as big as you want. We're imagining that not so much we're getting rid of that sensation or emotion or thoughts, but that we can expand the container that holds it. We can also imagine that we're not holding it by ourselves, but we're holding it with other people. Maybe a circle of trusted people, even if they're just people in our imagination and not in our lives right now. So we're breathing and imagining that that container can get as big as we need it to in this moment. And we'll breathe into that for a couple more moments. And then again, notice how you're doing. As the sensation, thoughts, or emotion shifted at all as you made the container bigger, maybe this hasn't worked for you at all, and it's okay. Not all the somatic tools that I share are going to work with everybody. I'm trying to share a different tool every day so that if you want to, you can kind of try and pick and choose and then find what works for you. Not everything that I share is going to, like, I'm not a very visual person, so sometimes when I share visual stuff, that don't work as well for me as things like giving ourselves support with our hands. Sometimes the more concrete stuff works better for me. So if that tool works for you, that's again another tool that's at your disposal to manage this very challenging times at the moment. So remembering that when we have that sensation, thought, or emotion that it's a little too much for us to bear, can we make the container bigger? Can we hold it in a larger container? And can we use our breath and focus and imagination to do that? And now, as we usually do, after I share whatever somatic tool of the day I'm sharing, we're going to turn our attention outwards. And we're just going to end up, what that means is either looking around or listening for different sounds, or looking for something to touch that is pleasant, comforting, or neutral. So it doesn't have to be all three. So at the very least neutral, or comforting or even pleasant to look at, to listen to, or to touch. This morning I'm lucky there's some sunshine, so I can look at the ray of sunshine on my desk. It's looking pretty. So I'm going to breathe into that. And again, we're using breath and attention to kind of focus on something that's pleasant, comforting, or neutral. And we're going to breathe into that 2 or 3 times. And again, with as much curiosity, gentleness, and non-judgment as we can handle, we're going to notice what happens when we focus on something that's pleasant, comforting, or neutral. We can notice, sound quality, texture, shape, color, whatever is pleasing or comforting or neutral for us. And notice if it has an impact on us. And once more, it's something that you can use if that's helpful throughout the day. And if it's not, it's just another tool you can just let it be for other people. So we've oriented inwards, we shared the practice, we oriented outwards. And one thing that we've been doing for the last few days is finishing up with vooing together. Because I enjoy that and people enjoy that, so why not? There's a whole other video that explains vooing in depth, but just very briefly, what vooing means is we're going to take a deep breath in, as deep as we can make it. On the out breath, we're going to say voo, but we're going to try and make some vibration with it, so it's more like woo. And we're going to keep going as long as we have lung capacity for. Your lung capacity is going to be different from mine, so go at your own lung capacity and keep going until all the breath is out. So even if the sound has gone all the way out but you're still breathing out, keep breathing out until you take another breath in naturally because you need it. And we'll do it again. We'll do it 3 times. I'll voo with you. Alrighty. And then going back to your usual breathing. And just noticing again how you feel after vooing. Again, with curiosity and non-judgment and kindness, just noticing how that feels in your body. And that's another tool that you can always go back to. And also, if you enjoy vooing, I really invite you to explore the difference between vooing while standing up, vooing while sitting up, vooing while lying down. It can make it really playful. One thing that we need in our life is playfulness and creativity, and that doesn't mean just making things. It can also mean just exploring what feels good and comforting and nourishing for our bodies. So thanks again for sharing this daily practice with me. For those of you who kind of share this with me every day, thank you for sharing this week of practice with me. And I hope these tools are helpful. If they are, feel free to use them. Feel free to share them. And I'll see you again on Monday next week around 8:20 a.m. I do my best. Sometimes it's more like 8:25. This morning was even later than that. So sorry about that. And I hope that your day is good and supportive. And I hope that your weekend, if you've been working throughout the week, is nourishing or if you work during the weekend, that you feel safe and supported. And I'll see you next week. Take care.